Now, you may recognise our first guest as one half of football's greatest boy band. He gave us the ultimate Euros hit, but now he's a comedian turned award-winning author, and his latest kids' book, Only Children, 3 Hilarious Stories, is out tomorrow. So here to tell us more, welcome David Baddiel.
Hello, everybody.
Lovely to meet you.
Nice to meet you
too. Do you know what? You've got the most beautiful smile. So what do you think about...
Very kind of you.
It kind of calms people down, doesn't it? What do you reckon to smile lessons?
Well, I like the idea of smile lessons. The only problem is if you're a comedian, a smile is no good to you because you can't hear it. Right? So if I do a joke, right? Let me do a joke, a very old joke, right? My granddad died on the occasion of his 92nd birthday, which was a great shame as we were only halfway through giving him the bumps. Right? Now, it's got a laugh, but the smile, I can't hear it. I can't hear it,
Yeah,
right?
true.
So what you want is laughs rather than smiles. But I do like smiling. I do like it. Whenever someone takes a photograph of me, my face can look very miserable, so I do a very big grin.
Go on, what is it?
It's that.
It's so lonely.
It is funny, but what do you do? I wasn't actually watching. What
when
do you do?
I worked with you, you didn't do much smiling, did you?
That was your fault.
David, how much smiling will my little son do when he reads your book, Only Children?
I think quite a lot. It's Only Children. Actually, I didn't know this. The publishers have called it Only Children, 3 Hilarious Short Stories. I got it back and thought, that's not up to me to call it that, but hopefully it will be. And actually, it's a real thing about the way I write children's books, is that when I first started writing them, my son said to me when he was 8 at the time, he said, Dad, why doesn't Harry Potter run away from the Dursleys and try and find some better parents? And it gave me the idea for a world in which children could choose their own parents, right? It never bothered me that my son gave me that idea. Bothered me a bit. But anyway, but what I thought was, I'm a comedian, and kids now, I don't know if you think this, but I really do, they are much funnier than when I was a kid. When I was growing up, I had the magic roundabout.
Oh, I loved the magic roundabout.
It wasn't funny.
It certainly wasn't funny.
Weird.
No, but it was quite dark, wasn't it?
It was just surreal and weird, and someone was on drugs when they came up with it.
Yeah.
Whereas now, my children, and all children of that age, have grown up watching The Simpsons, watching Pixar movies like The Incredibles. So I noticed with both my children, with my son and my daughter, they had like a really sophisticated sense of humour. So when I started writing kids' books, I thought I'm going to make them as funny as I can be. In other words, everything I do is hopefully trying to be funny for kids, just without the sex and swearing. Basically, that's what the books are.
You've plundered your kids' ideas.
I have, totally.
Yeah, so you get them to talk and you just write it into your book, catch in on it.
The one about the what's the parent agency? Is that the one that you were talking about with that your son sort of...
The parent agency, I mean, my son has given me a lot. My son is now 18. He's a big, strapping bloke. But when he was cute and 8, he gave me this idea about a world in which children can choose their own parents, right? And I actually did give him, I think it was an iPod as royalties. And he's never quite forgiven me because I think he thought he should have a percentage.
Exactly. It's being made into a show.
It's being made into a musical. Can you not mention this to him? He will definitely ask for more money and a bigger share. But yeah, next year it's being made. The bloke who wrote, who's an incredible genius, Dan Gillespie Sells, who wrote Everyone's Talking About Jamie.
Oh yeah.
He's writing the music. I'm writing the book and the lyrics, and yeah, that should be on stage next year.
Wow, David, that's incredible.
That was a good woo.
See, they are impressed, so it should do well, David.
Well, you should all come. You should all come, all of you, and the 2 men in the audience. The 2 men.
Does your son want to be in it?
My son is 18, so this is about an 11-year-old boy.
Yeah, there must be a part for him.
Yeah, actually, there might be a part for him. But actually, one of the things about it is that mostly children's books and children's musicals recently have been more about girls.
Yes,
and this one does have a boy at the centre of it. And actually, a lot of parents do write to me, which is really sweet, and say, oh, my boy, had never really read anything. Because boys read less than girls.
Yes, that's right.
And then apparently, and it's really gratifying, because my books are funny, boys pick them up and boys read them. And so I'm glad about that.
Is there any one of the stories taken from a true life event?
All of them are taken from true life events. The first one is about a boy who's got a new babysitter, and she's called Mrs. Stokes. And I had a babysitter called Mrs. Stokes, who was, I think, 170 years old. Yeah. And every time...
She was probably 34.
She might have been. She might have been, Denise. But at the time, whenever my dad and mum left the house, my dad would always say, be good or Mrs Stokes will put the boot in, right? Because I thought, well, obviously she can't walk. But nonetheless, that's what he said. And Mrs Stokes is in that, and she is a babysitter with a boy who's really, really bothered about his routines, and she just says, oh, do whatever you like. And he says, all right, I'll do what I like, and then he can do whatever he likes. And the third story is about, so when I was a kid, we always went on holiday to Swansea, which is where my dad's parents were. Now, I'm going to say that an apology now, right? Which is, in 1974, Swansea was boring. I'm sorry to tell you that. It was boring, and we went there every year for our summer holidays. And my parents didn't even go to the nice places, because there's lots of nice places. We just went to my grandparents' house and Martin and Norma's caravan. That's not going to mean anything to anyone, right? That's what happens in this. These kids go to Snoring on Sea, which I'm sorry is what I call it, Snoring on Sea, and every year it's the same thing. But in my story, which never happened, they meet a sprite, like a boy who lives on an island in the middle of the sea.
Oh, so there's magical elements as well.
Yeah, there's always magical elements. And they meet this sprite on an island, and he comes back to their world, to Snoring, to their grandparents' world, where they have fried breakfasts every day, which actually I do love, and fish and chips, and a broken window, and everything's very dull.
I love Snoring on Sea.
Yeah, it sounds great.
It is great, because that's the point, is that this boy, this sprite, who's called Ariel, says it's brilliant.
Do you know it's so lovely hearing you talk about it, just how much joy you seem to get from writing for children. It's really lovely.
No, it is lovely. It is lovely.
And we got so much joy from as well, coronation tweet.
Coronation tweet.
When you tweeted
the
the live coronation, that was absolutely hilarious.
I sort of lost it. I just was tweeting and tweeting and tweeting because basically I thought it was really funny.
Yeah.
That's
what you think of the royal family.
They're not sure about this. But, you know, I think the best argument for the royal family is they are hilarious.
Yeah.
They are. Like, that is a human being, right? He's a human being, and we've basically covered him in weird costumes. What is he wearing?
I'm still recovering from the coronation. I'm not going through that all over again. But David, it's been such a joy to have you.
It's been an absolute pleasure.